Hey Adam, how has your day been so far?
Pretty good, Joel. Thank you. Pretty good. And yours?
It's been good. It's getting dark now, so it's time to put the lights on and get into a comfy mode. And this is why we're meeting today to talk a little bit about the Relay products and what the tech is actually like behind. And I thought a good place to start is we're always reiterating, we're quite fast to adapt and to ship stuff. Why do we like to ship things fast rather than, testing them 3,000 times like other software companies or generally other companies do?
Well, just a ship. I mean, as you said, why do we like to ship? Then you need to stock there because there is no shipping slow to me. I think it's especially as a techie, if you would put yourself in a techie shoes, it's just like you're in love with your code base, and you would just keep on working forever. There is no end. You can always make it better. You can always make it more sexier and add some new features, some shiny things here and there. But the problem there is then you don't ship. So that was a very big learning since we launched. Like Julian came up with the idea that we only have 3 months. Whatever you do it in 3 months. I was like, okay, let's see. And at the end of the 3 months, we shipped it. I didn't care if it was like good or bad. It was far from being good. But that's the approach. We'd rather ship it, and there is no perfection. We don't believe in perfection. We'd rather ship it, but then shipping doesn't mean that you ship it when it's 10, 20% complete. Obviously, you want to be 80, 90% complete, and then the rest will come anyway. It's more about maintenance and continuous progress that you would do. But it has to be out. It has to be in front of the users. For example, Lightning Wallet, even if we took like months to test it, anyway, there will be edge cases we didn't cover. There will be things that we just didn't realize. And in the meantime, we would stop working on anything else, basically. Just working months and months on this feature in our own silo is not the best thing to do.
Going back to the hackathon where Relay was basically born and to today, with our app, we'll start there. What are sort of the key things you learned from a tech perspective, but then also gradually into moving to the role as the CTO, managing people and working on a product?
Well, managing people and understanding what product means is like just the two things you mentioned were quite big learnings. So usually you don't really care. I like a lot of people would just combine product and tech and they go hand in hand. But in the end, it's two different kind of knowledge, experience, and expertise that you need. So initially, when you're alone, it's a completely different coding style. It's a different infrastructure you're working on. You're basically just freestyle. You don't care too much about having tests running, about having a development environment, all that things. And anyway, you need to be fast. So you just release, you deploy, you break a lot of things. And over time, you just learn that, with a team joining, and especially hiring people that are the best at what they are doing helps, because now the team is just killing what they've done. They don't need me. I don't think they would be happy to see me coding. I know they are doing much better than I would have done it. So I let them take care of this. People is also another topic that you learn. So obviously every project starts with 1, 2, 3 people, maybe sort of responsibilities, but it's also a lot of freedom. You can do a bit whatever you want, whenever you want. It gets tricky when you start adding people, but at the same time, if you can manage it well, it also brings like this 10x, 20x improvement that you're looking for in terms of speed, in terms of stability, scaling, all that things that you can work with the team that you couldn't afford to work when you were alone. And product is now becoming even a bigger topic for us. As you know, we had Hugo, our product lead, joining us recently, and he will take care of this. The product person is really someone who will bring a bit the outsider view, so the user's perspective to what you're building. Because usually tech people, they really don't care, they don't have an idea about the product itself. They would care about the fact that it is working, yes. Are there any bugs? There might be a few, let me fix them. Is it scaling if we have more users? Yes. So this is basically tech questions. Product questions are more like, well, why would the user care about this screen? Do we really need this? Is it the best way that we can implement it for our users? How can we make it faster? How can we make it more efficient? So all of these things were learnings, and I think we're just still at the very beginning. So we are now about 10 developers, and now we have also Hugo joining. We have DevOps, we have design in the team. So we've been growing pretty fast, but I still feel like there's much more to come.
So speaking of the app, a lot of requests I get in the community is on what tech stack are you built? What kind of libraries do you use? Can you maybe give the 90-second breakdown of how the Relay app is built?
Only 90 seconds. I wish I had like the whole day. Yeah, well, pretty standard, I would say. For the app, we went hybrid solution. So we use React Native for the mobile app. What it means is, in easy terms, is just that we use one code base that will generate the same app for iOS and Android. Because if you were to go native, you would have to code completely separately, different programming language, different team only for iOS, and a different team only on Android, which some companies kind of have to do. For example, if you're a resource intensive app like a gaming platform or things like this, you have to go native because it's much more efficient. But in our case, we don't really need that. Like, as long as we have nice UI UX transitions, which React Native is doing really well, then it makes sense to go hybrid, because then you can have one developer will be working on one feature and it will look exactly the same on both iOS and Android. So you don't need one iOS developer, one Android developer per feature. So that's for the front end. And for the back end, for our Bitcoin broker, we went also with, again, quite the standard, a bit of a mix. We use both Python and Golang as a programming language. We are ditching Python. It ends up being a bit slow, so we'll be fully on Golang. And we use what is called a microservice-based architecture. So in the end, it's just small blocks that you put together and they can work and communicate with each other. And when you implement something new, it's just one more block. The blocks are independent, so you can scale them as well. If you need more of this specific block, you just need to duplicate it, for example. So this is the very simple tech stack we use on the front end and on the back end. And we will be coming very soon, obviously, with the web platform that we announced. And then we will be using React, which is very close to React Native in terms of, so it's JavaScript, it's the same programming language. And this way, we don't yet, but eventually we'll also be able to share some code between our web and our mobile platforms.
Brilliant. And I mean, you gave me the perfect overhaul, the perfect intro to the web app, because from what I've noticed, obviously, I only work in marketing. I basically make the app pretty online and I present it in a way, and you guys do the hard work. But we did have some like early bugs we took with in the, when I now say retail app for the audience, this means the regular app you download at the app stores, where, sometimes things would pop up. We need to do hot fixes and we need to figure it out. And with the web app now being can I call it a new, totally new platform, new infrastructure, we have ironed out a lot of those details. But what were the challenging in building for the web for you guys?
Well, there are pros and cons. For example, a few pros, I see more the pros initially, because what happened, for example, with the mobile app, you cannot just release a new version out of nowhere instantly. You need to prepare the build, you need to send it for review. Apple reviews it differently, Google reviews it differently. One might approve it, the other might reject it. So it's sort of back and forth, even for small changes. Like literally sometimes one line of change, you send it to Apple and out of nowhere, they come up with a situation that you had already for months, but they didn't check at the time. And now they just felt like checking for it, and then they will block you. And then this thing was supposed to be like an instant or quick new update, takes a few days or a few weeks. On the web, you don't have this. For example, on the web, it's just you deploy and then it's live for everyone. You just need to refresh and it's live for everyone. But then obviously there are some disadvantages as well, like security is the big one. And this obviously, based on the pros and cons, we can provide some features on one platform and not on the other. One of them is the wallet. On the mobile platform, we are very confident and we really rely on the big players there, Apple and Google. On the iPhones, for example, you have what is called a secure enclave, where you can store some secrets only accessible when the phone is unlocked, only by a given specific app. So we can encrypt and store the seeds there, so users have a wallet in their mobile Relay app. But on the web Relay app, unfortunately, because it's not as secure as on the mobile platform, we will initially avoid having a mobile wallet. Obviously, there are web wallet. There are web wallets out there, like MetaMask or a few other plugins. They do it pretty well. But in our case, for the users that we are targeting, we want to make sure that They don't lose their seed. They have full control over it. Until solutions like cloud backup come into play, we will avoid having a wallet on the web. So it would be a bring your own wallet kind of solution. So they are both advantages and disadvantages, and we need to check them. We need to make sure we can provide the best user experience on both platforms. But obviously, because of this, some features might be available in one platform and not in the other. But even that, we want to make sure we can still have very good integration for this both platforms. So users can, even if they don't have the wallet on the web, let's say, for example, they can still connect to the web. If they have their phone with them, they can still send some Bitcoin from the web by just scanning a QR code, for example, from the phone. So it's still the phone creating the transaction and everything. The private key still stays there. But then for the broadcasting, it just sends it to the web app, and the web app is broadcasting it, for example. So as long as we can make sure that we have a seamless integration, so you just have one Relay account, then you could use both platforms. Maybe you prefer the web because you like the big screen and you like to see your DCA chart is much better, then you can use that one, and we will try to provide as much as possible of the features we have in the mobile app.
What is the number one thing you learned at building all of these products over the time now at Relay?
Wow, the number one thing I learned is that making things simple is not easy. I would put it that way.
Yeah, that's I think that describes mostly every software company I know or friends work at, and everyone faces the same challenge. Making it look easy is the hardest part, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Without giving away too much of the security, privacy aspects, obviously, while still making sure that the user understand, educating as well. Education is a big part of it. So all of this together, it feels like ideally you just let's say you know exactly how Bitcoin works, you know how private key is generated. You just want to do it with your dice, whatever you want to store it somewhere where it's secure. That's good. But then everybody can afford it. Does it mean that all these people should not access Bitcoin? That would be a pity. So you need to find the right balance, and that's where it gets quite tricky.
If there is one feature you would like to add to a Relay, what would that be, Adam?
To add to Relay,
Yeah.
I would go with the cliche, and I think that's becoming quite a meme in the team, would be dark mode. I guess it's missing. It's been 4 years and a half, and it's all like dark mode is new in the mobile world, right? It's been there for 4 years, even before we launched Relay. So it just became a meme. It's been asked a lot as well. I would love to see it, but then obviously we have a few other priorities, and we just think that dark mode can wait a bit. That's more the fun side of it. But what I would really like to see is much faster payment settlement, Bitcoin transaction settlement, just so that users can really like feel the experience of, when we started, it was like buy Bitcoin in 1 minute. And I really want us to get there. I want users to buy Bitcoin in 1 minute. Just input the amount, click buy, and then receive your Bitcoin. As simple as that.
Right. I love the dark mode part. I'm definitely gonna interview Yannick now as a follow-up.
You should. Yannick and Theo are a big fan of it and pushing hard.
Before we close up, Adam, I have prepared a few questions from the community. It's more product related, but it's also questions just generally towards you. And if you can answer them in as fast as possible.
Sure.
So the first question we had is when XPub?
XPub is tricky. XPub is also tricky. Like it's quite easy to integrate, but it's also tricky in terms of privacy. I personally, I don't want XPubs. I'd rather, but a solution in between could be maybe not get the whole XPub, but maybe just get a few addresses, maybe 10, 20 of them, and use them. And when they are done, maybe ask for more, ask in the background. But it's tricky. Like, do you really want to share your XPub with everyone? I mean, in the end, you trust Relay, which is fine, but that's also a reason why we let them control your own private keys. We don't want to deal with XPubs. So I would rather push this as hard as possible, as late as possible. And even if we do it for various reasons, for address change, obviously it's very good for privacy. We could reuse another address every time. Then we would do it in a different approach, not taking the whole XPub, but maybe chunk by chunk, we would just take a few addresses.
Nice. Are we thinking of adding the Liquid network somehow, maybe with the Liquid submarine swaps between Lightning on-chain and Liquid? Or is there any plan on the roadmap to further add more scaling solutions?
Liquid, yes. I mean, in a way, we've been talking about Liquid for a while. And the good thing is, we are working closely with Breeze, who built this Breeze SDK for our Lightning integration. And now they have a Liquid version of their Breeze SDK. So basically, we can integrate it very, very easily. And the good thing, like that's how they call it, it's a nodeless Lightning. So the users will not need to have nodes. Obviously, payments work much better. And it's much faster. We just need to make sure that it's really what we want long term. So for now, we stick to Lightning. What we want to make sure is that our Lightning wallet is out of beta and is working, and we have still LNURL to integrate before considering other options, because then it goes back to building things half-baked and then moving too fast. It's good to move fast, but you need this balance, like release fast, then get some validation, and then you can move. But we still haven't got the full validation whether we go Lightning or we go Liquid. So for now, we still want to stick to Lightning. We're working on the LNURL integration. And once this is good and out of beta, then depending on how it goes, we might consider Liquid. But then the switch would be relatively easy.
Another question we had, and I think actually this is not a bad idea. I have no idea if we technically are able to do this. Is there any way on the roadmap where you can have a 1 or maybe even 2-click automatic UTXO consolidation built into the app? One of the squad members asked, what if the fees are low? You get a notification, you click yes, I want to consolidate. You click another one going what the amount is, if you want to consolidate all or whatever, and then it does it automatically. Is this something we're thinking about? And is it even technically possible?
Technically possible, yes. Pretty straightforward. In the end, the wallet is on the phone. We can just implement this action that will, when the user click it, create a new transaction, which will be just a consolidation transaction. The only problem is, again, and we were waiting, like we expected, 1 sat per byte days. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. Although we're still very low. I mean, we shouldn't complain about what we have today. The other problem is user experience, but it goes back to educating and communicating with the users. Bitcoiners would like to consolidate. Maybe we can send a push notification, okay, fees are low, just consolidate. They can anyway consolidate if they just send given amount to their own wallet address. It will create a consolidation, obviously, but the one button is also something we can implement. But then how do you communicate this to newbies? And it's much more complicated than it sounds, because they will get a notification, they will get a bit frustrated what's happening. What is a consolidation? Why am I supposed to pay now some fees, whereas will it really help me in the future? Maybe in the future anyway, I will sell when the fees are low. I mean, even this, they can't make the link and think about it. So we don't want to complicate the whole process. But obviously, it's something we discussed already a few times. We haven't implemented it. What we did is we let the users can do it themselves. Just copy your address, send whatever amount you want back to yourself, and we have better coin control now in the app. Initially, we had a way that whenever you send some transaction, it will anyway also end up with a consolidation, because it was using all your UTXO. Even if you were sending a very small amount, it was using all your UTXOs, and then it was also ending up with your output and one big UTXO for yourself. So it was also consolidation. But then with the fees going crazy, every time you wanted to send even small amount, you would end up with a super high fee, because it was by default. You couldn't change this. So now we just select the smallest UTXO possible so they can send the transaction, which doesn't end up in an extra consolidation. So in the app, it is possible to do it yourself, but not with a single button. And if we, now with the help of Hugo, if we can fix also the user aspect of it, I don't see why we wouldn't implement this. I think that would be pretty cool.
Nice. And then the last question was, when are we going to add Lightning addresses, or specifically LNPay addresses, because people are asking to share their Lightning wallets more easily?
Yeah, I just touched a bit on that earlier. So LNURL is in the work. We will start first with sending to LNURL, which is a bit easier, obviously. So really users will not need an invoice anymore. They can just input any Lightning address. and specify the amount or not, and then send directly to that user. And the second step is Relay users having their own Lightning address and then receiving via LNURL. That's a bit tricky because this requires some backend work. So anyway, you need this kind of address book to associate a node with a Lightning address, and a bit of product work. So we want to make sure that we can propose this the best way possible to our users. So are we going to go with random Lightning addresses to every users, or shall we keep it customizable so they can pick whatever they want? I think Wallet of Satoshi was doing it at some point. You had to pay, but you could pay and get your custom wallet address there. Lightning address, sorry. So these are things we need to figure out still internally, but technically speaking, sending to LNURL will come very soon. We are currently working on it. Receiving will come a bit later. And anyway, Breeze has both of them ready as well. The backend side is also ready, and front end as well. So the latest, I think, next year in Q1, we will have full LNURL integrated, and hopefully also get our Lightning wallet out of beta. So then it works also flawlessly for all of our users.
Thanks, man. If anyone wants to follow Adem, the best place is to probably hit him up on X or LinkedIn, I guess. And we still have a few job applications open. So if you're a techie developer, who knows? Adem might be your boss soon.
We do. Please reach out to me.